Dry conditions are worsening across central and eastern Australia. The rainfall was fairly close to normal last spring, and December rainfall was quite heavy through some southern parts of Australia. However, since January, we've seen well below average rain for most parts of the country, and right now we've got drought from central Queensland right through New South Wales, including Gundagai pictured here, down to Tasmania. Take a look at this shot from Gippsland, Victoria. A complete lack of any grass coverage there. You'd call that a severe drought. It's hard to farm when there's no grass on the ground. Over the past week, less than 1 millimetre of rain you can see through most of Australia. Our capitals are suffering. Sydney, no rain in the past week. Brisbane, 1 millimetre. Melbourne's had 3 millimetres. Darwin's only had 3 millimetres in the past week and only 70 millimetres so far this month. Their February average is about 370 millimetres. Now the forecast. There's a ridge of high pressure extending in from the west, so dry conditions. A trough will trigger storms over some eastern parts of New South Wales during the middle of this week. Front will bring these light showers to Tasmania and across the northern tropics. The monsoon hasn't been seen for about 2 weeks now, and over the next week there's no risk of the monsoon redeveloping over northern Australia. So there's not too much rain in those areas. Cyclone Oma though, that's the system we're watching. It's moving southwest. Now most of the models keep that system offshore. The EC model, which is what we're looking at here, now brings that system to the southern Queensland coast perhaps over the weekend. Under that scenario, we're looking at widespread heavy rain and flooding across southeast Queensland. I think the more likely scenario is still that it will stay offshore, but we can't rule out the system hitting the coast and bringing a significant major rain and flood event to southeast Queensland. Something we're going to have to watch. Some of the farmers will be hoping for that scenario because perhaps some of that rain will spill across the ranges into some of these western areas. Let's talk totals then. An average of 1 to 10 millimetres on Wednesday for eastern parts of New South Wales. Not expecting much there. There's light falls in Tasmania across the northern tropics. On Thursday, 1 to 5 millimetres for most of eastern New South Wales, perhaps over 5 around the Port Stephens Hunter area. Those showers creep up the coast on Friday as Tropical Cyclone Oma approaches the Queensland coast. And as I said, on Saturday, it may be well offshore, so we might not see these heavier falls on Saturday, but it's a possibility. It makes it very difficult giving a prediction as to how much rain will fall. It could be 100 millimetres on Sunday. It could be no rain at all. We're just going to have to wait and see. On Monday, that heavy rain could persist altogether over the next 8 days. Most of Australia, less than 5 millimetres of rain through the drought-affected areas, central Queensland, New South Wales, down to Tasmania. We're not expecting significant falls. However, if Cyclone Oma makes landfall, we could see hundreds of millimetres along that east coast. Close to 30 homes have been destroyed across northern New South Wales from bushfires over the past week. The largest of those fires is the Walangara fire right near the Queensland border. This fire has burnt through more than 40,000 hectares. It's roughly the size of the Gold Coast. Also, we have fires burning just south of Inverell and also at Tabulum, which is just to the east of the Walangara fire. And because they're so large, they are still burning and not completely controlled. And we have not seen rainfall over the past week, less than 1 millimetre for most of the country. And as a result, the vegetation index remains dry. That's indicated by the brown and the yellow shading. There's only a few parts of the east coast that have green vegetation right now. So given the right weather conditions, there's still the risk of major fires heading forward into the autumn. Here's the forecast temperatures today. Very hot heatwave conditions through the northwest, the central interior towards eastern Queensland. That dark red shows temperatures over 40 degrees. We do have a change coming through. Thankfully, unlike last week, this change will not generate strong winds. So the fire dangers are elevated, but they're not severe or extreme. They're forecast to be very high, the yellow, through northeast New South Wales today, including across the fire zone and through southern and central Queensland. When the fire dangers are very high, they're fast moving, they're hard to control, but they're not unpredictable, which is what you see when the fire dangers are extreme. And you only see spot fires just right near the fire front. They don't blow from embers a few kilometres ahead of the main fire front. The fire danger is also elevated through the northwest pocket of WA. We're expecting slightly cooler conditions on Wednesday for northern New South Wales as that trough moves north, bringing a cooler southerly. Still climbing over 35 though for the northern inland part of the state. And the fire danger is still very high for those districts and again for central and southern Queensland. Severe fire dangers for some northwest parts of WA. Finally, having a look at the temperatures on Thursday, cooler again through northern New South Wales with winds coming up from the southeast. That'll also bring some slightly more humid air from the Tasman Sea. So the fire dangers are dropping for most areas, but just on the western side of the ranges, not across the fire zone. The fire dangers will be very high. Heatwave continues on Thursday for central and some southern parts of Queensland, and again we'll have elevated fire dangers for Western Australia, although temperatures will be cooling along the west coast later in the week.